take me to the bunny ranch. People dying, kill me in the packing house.
This is the Jericho Open.
Oh, you tricked me, man. I was like, he's so quiet and demure today.
I know. What can I say? Demure.
You also gave away what the whole show is by calling it the Jericho. Unless we're talking about that TV show Jericho.
Well, listen, I'm a Jerichoholic.
With Skeet, you love Skeet Ulrich's performance on that Sci-Fi Channel show.
Yes, I do. And yeah.
Welcome to Bunny Ears, folks. I'm Matt Cohen. This is, of course, Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, Skeet Ulrich.
Is it Ulrich or Ulrich?
I don't know.
I'll go with you. You seemed like you corrected me. Like
Skeet Ulrich.
Did you ever meet that guy?
No, sadly, no.
Sadly, gone before his time.
Yeah. No, I had a weird. Well, like love for him. Like I wrote something that involved the devil, but he had like a picture of Skeet Ulrich like in his wallet.
Nice.
Yeah. So so I actually like had a thing about Skeet Ulrich.
Spoiler alert: he's the killer in Scream. Oh no, I spoiled it.
Oh my goodness!
You only had like 45. Oh no, that movie came out so long ago. We're so old, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So Matthew Lillard alert.
Yeah. Oh, is he here? Oh no. Welcome to Bunny Ears. This is the show where we talk about Matthew Lillard.
Yes, it's the Lillard effect.
And we also talk about stuff we love. We've talked about cartoons. We've talked about conspiracy theories. We've talked about mustard.
But have we talked about Canada?
We haven't yet, actually. And
Really?
you know what? I don't think we've even had on a Canadian guest.
Really?
Now that I think about it.
Is that... Wait... We have not had a single Canadian.
Does that check out? I mean, Kevin Smith wants to be like an honorary Canadian, but that doesn't count.
Ohio's really close to Canada.
It's very close. Let me think.
So Stu's not a Canadian.
No Canadians.
No, it's close.
I think we're due, man.
Yeah. Okay. We should have a Canadian on.
They're our brother / little weird cousin to the north. Mm-hmm. They're adorable. They've got something called Canada Day, and every time it's Canada Day, I go like, "Good for you, Canada."
Oh, look at you! Like you little champ. Like you want to give him like that little like fist to the shoulder.
Yeah, or like a hockey punch.
Like a little like just pat to the head, you know.
And not only do we have a Canadian on today, but this covers two of our loves: our love for Canada, which apparently
Canada,
we have,
obviously,
and our love for wrestling.
This motherfucking Chris motherfucking Jericho.
It's Chris motherfucking Jericho, which is he legally changed his middle name to motherfucking. We told him not to. Exclusively. Folks, if you don't know who Chris Jericho is one of the best professional wrestlers in the history of the sport. He is a rock star.
Yeah.
He is an author. He is a podcaster. He's got his own cruise coming up.
Yeah. No, he's the real deal. Like he does it all, and like he says he's going to do things, and he actually does them, which is something that is short of what almost everyone else on this planet does.
He's the GOAT, and we get into some wrestling-centric talk on this show, other than Canada talk in general. And if you don't know, Chris, for years wrestled for a company called WCW, and then he had the bulk of his career with WWF and WWE, and now he's doing some really exciting stuff where he's kind of just the world's hottest free agent.
Yeah. No, he's running a cruise right now that is wrestling related, but still, he filled up a cruise boat.
So while
he's also the lead singer of Fozzy,
of course, with
fantastic
hit song called Judas this year.
There you go. Like he's he does music. He's a cruise director. Apparently,
he wears really long scarves.
He's a scarf man.
He's a fashionista.
Yeah. He wears light up leather jackets.
He's a super cool guy, and he's someone I've been a fan of basically my entire life, and I know you have too.
Same, man. He was my favorite growing up.
So it was crazy that we got to sit down and talk with him. And what's even crazier, Warren, is it's a 2-part conversation.
I know. We split up everything. It's between our podcast and his. What's his podcast?
Talk is Jericho, and you're going to be able to, if you're listening to Bunny Ears the week it comes out, you'll be able to hear that on Friday. If not, you'll be able to hear it whenever you want. But definitely check out Mack and me on Talk is Jericho after you listen to Chris Jericho on the Bunny Ears show.
Yeah, check it out.
And without further ado,
nice.
Here we go.
Are we recording?
We're recording.
We're recording.
We're recording.
Wow.
That was it.
That's the intro.
You weren't as loud as you usually are.
Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3.
We're recording.
Thank you, buddy.
Good.
Just so I can hurt my ears later on when I'm editing this.
Let me ask you a question. I'm not going to jump in and spoil any of your intros or whatever.
Please don't.
But can I put these on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Please
put them on.
That's not Stu you're hearing, but we'll get to that in a moment, folks. Welcome to Bunny Ears.
Yay!
I'm Matt Cohen, joined as always by your illustrious host,
Rory Culkin Jr.
Rory Culkin, congratulations! They just got married and all of a sudden they had a kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't wait long, right?
Yeah, I know. Just ask Paul Heyman.
You look just like your dad.
Oh, thank you.
Just ask Paul Heyman because, to be fair, Paul Heyman officiated your brother's wedding at WrestleMania this year.
That's the joke.
For the Warren who didn't understand that.
For the Warren.
And speaking of Paul Heyman, that's a pretty good segue, Mac. Did you do that on purpose?
No. Yes.
I'm a verbose guy. I like to think that I got the words down, and it's not often that I am left
Verbose.
near speechless at trying to introduce a guest. And there's really very few ways to do this other than the Ayatollah of rock and roll, Y2J. Come on, hit me with some more.
What? Oh, the Lionheart.
There you go, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, we have Mr.
It's Chris Jericho
fucking
himself.
Jericho on right now.
Good.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Thank you. Very
Thanks,
cool.
brother. That was a good intro.
And I'm very excited to wear the bunny ears.
I know.
Which is
Honestly,
cool.
you better take them off before they suit you.
It might be too late, my friend.
We're not
It might
going
be
to
too
name
late.
names, but there have been some guests in the past who are a little too macho for the bunny ears.
Well, that's just BS because there's nothing more macho than wearing bunny ears.
They're
Thank
fertile
you.
animals, right?
You know,
They're
well, no,
always,
but it's always like I always come from the school of like in the '90s. I see that you have your nails painted. So do I.
Darn
Black
tootin'.
nails. I also had both my ears pierced before that was the thing because Paul Stanley had that.
Yeah.
And I was like, Paul Stanley is probably banging more girls than I'll ever meet in my life. So if he can wear painted nails and earrings, well then damn it, so can I. And that will definitely prove your masculinity, even though it might not seem that way for other type of like farmers and cowboys and those type of people.
Yeah, I've actually always kind of been that way too, where it's kind of just like, yes, I will wear.
You're a flamboyant gal.
Yeah, I am. Lipstick and everything. Even.
Yeah.
Look at
I've
me.
seen you rock like a straight up Bowie Stardust.
But see, there you go,
glam
Bowie.
look.
You just hit it, Bowie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bowie,
But here's
right?
one thing I love too is that when you talk about the history of rock and roll, for example, and it's just like show business. If you really want to make it wrestling too, if you want to make it, you got to do something that's never been done before.
Indeed, yeah.
Take a chance. And you think of Bowie in the early '70s, and people probably laughing at him or calling him weird or bisexual or whatever. And now here we are after he passed away, and he's one of the greatest artists of all time. That we all critically acclaim all of his looks and all of his weirdness. So you have to take a chance and do something different and go through that trial of fire where people are going to be kind of smirking at you until they realize, oh my God, this guy's doing whatever he wants to do. And then you put the fucking bunny ears on, and now, we're the coolest people here.
There
Heck
go,
yeah,
man.
that's what I'm talking
You can
about.
take
We are
yours
the-
off. You don't have to. You have nothing to prove.
I'll put them back on.
Yeah, we
Warren,
are the
they were
coolest
always
people.
on.
By the way, there's only 3 of us in here, but we are the coolest people in here.
Also, I like to
We are the
think
3 coolest people in the room.
like
we
David
totally
Bowie,
nailed that.
David Bowie was an innovator. I like to think that because no one's did a podcast before us, really, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're the first podcasters.
we're kind of
present company
gate
excluded.
crashers. No, I'm kidding. Speaking of
And one of
podca-
the only podcasts
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
I
No, I'm
think.
pretty sure we're the only ones.
But speaking of
Yeah.
podcasters, Chris, you have your own podcast and have had for years.
I do. 5 years coming up. 5 years.
I know you were saying that.
Talk is Jericho,
5
yeah.
effing years.
What happened was, we were going to tell the story before, but what happened was, so Steve Austin was probably the first guy that had a podcast that I knew. And he called me one day and said that Podcast One, the company that he was working for, was looking for other kind of wrestling podcasts because, as anything else, when something is a hit, the studios and the powers that be want more of the same. I said I can't do a wrestling podcast, but I'd love to do a podcast with wrestling as an element of it, or
Because you're a raconteur.
A raconteur.
Yeah.
And
You're a
also
rock
have-
star. You're a
well, and have
you're
have a lot of
fashionista.
interests, and like
Yeah.
you guys just like having a cool conversation. So by proxy of this, we've got wrestling, we've got music, we've got rock and roll, comedians, porn stars, some of my friends from high school, whatever it may be. But also now some of my heroes have been on. William Shatner's been on like 3
that's
times.
cool.
Paul Stanley a bunch of times. Lars Ulrich from Metallica. So now you get a chance to talk to your friends and make new friends. Like with you guys right now, we might have met before, Mac.
We
He
have.
says you guys
backstage
have. Yeah.
at Staples.
Backstage, at Staples,
Staples.
Mania. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, here's another one.
I was awkward, and you actually came up to me.
Oh,
Looking-
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I think I actually met you one time before that
I feel like that was not the first time. Yeah. Go
at
on.
Hugo's
In L.A. out
in
here?
L.A.
Oh, my
It
goodness.
was you, your brother Kieran, and he was dating 70 showgirl.
Oh, that was my.
That was
ex-girlfriend.
him.
You were dating her.
Yeah. Don't give him credit.
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, dude.
We'll edit this. We'll edit
High
this part
five on
out.
that
Don't
one.
worry.
High five on that one. So I apologize. So it was you, your brother, and your ex-girlfriend or girlfriend at the time, and I was at Hugo's, and you guys were either eating there or I was eating there, and you guys said hi to me, and yeah. And your brother told me a story about how he had done a Broadway play or something along those lines and wore a Chris Jericho shirt during the play because he felt the character warranted that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my shirt. It was the Jerichoholic shirt.
Okay, yeah.
The old WCW, like Jerichoholic kind of thing. Okay,
going back to what you just
which
said.
Which I have. I got it back, by the
Okay,
way.
got it back from him.
It's in my repertoire.
Yeah,
But
got
going
it.
back to what you even just said, so Mac did an AMA earlier this year, and someone asked him, who's your favorite professional athlete of all time? And he named you. So you said you've gotten to meet some of your heroes.
Yeah.
Dude, that's literally the moment we're having right now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Kidding me? Like, yeah. Like, and actually, we get to see the whole arc too. Like, like as a fan, like like kind of from even pre WCW kind of days, like onward, like
To, like-
Super Liger and onward.
To your Naito match, to like being a huge New Japan mark and loving everything you're doing over there.
Yeah.
And, like, it's
But
been crazy, man.
It's so cool because, and this is one thing I love about doing what we do, and whatever form of show business or entertainment that you're in, you have a mutual respect society.
Indeed.
And I mean, like I said, like when I tell my kids that I did this with you, because every Christmas you watch Home Alone. It's just the standard, and obviously that's not the only thing you've done. But to them, it's like, why would Macaulay Culkin want to talk to my dad?
Every Christmas he watches your Money in the Bank.
Well, there you go. It's reciprocal. But then that is a cool thing. Like to get a chance to I for some reason, let's say Vanilla Ice, greatest guy in the world, and not the biggest fan before, but obviously respect what he did. Sat down, had a podcast, and now he's a great guy. We text back and forth and all that sort of thing. Kevin Smith, who we just saw earlier today, that's another
Friend of the
guy that I
show.
respected
Yeah,
and loved. And via the podcast world, now we're friends because you get a chance to talk to each other.
Exactly.
we hope we don't let you down. That's a lot of. They're building up the pressure here, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like it's like Vanilla Ice and then me.
Well,
I mean,
it's
just like
hard.
ooh, I know. Like,
Yeah, it's back.
I would argue that he's probably better at.
off to the races over here.
Real quick, who'd win in a fight, Mac? You or Vanilla? Mac likes to do this a lot.
Okay,
you or
yeah.
Vanilla Ice?
Who would win in a fight? Me or Rob Van Winkle?
Rob's a big guy. He's bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
But there's nothing scarier
That
than a
fight's
little guy
dirty.
going, "Come on."
yeah.
Right?
And
That's
it's
kinda
always
scary.
It's always the little guys that are super tough. Like
That's what I'm talking.
Scrappy.
it's the guys that say how tough they are that aren't. And it's the little guys that just kind of sit in the corner and be quiet that turn all, mongoose and the cobra snake, right?
That's what I'm talking.
Get
So
all
there you
Ricky
go.
Tikki
You ever
Tavi
see
on
a
that.
Train Spotting? Like,
Yeah, of course.
Like Begbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he is like the biggest badass
Sure.
in town, and he's not the biggest
Skinny
dude in the
guy
world. It's
around
kind of just like
Carlisle or
I
whatever.
love how
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
he like flicks out his knife and like, all right, now it's fight time. Like,
But that the reason for that though,
so I'm gonna
and
Begbie him. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say.
Begbie.
Vanilla
That's
Ice.
Mac's move in
Hey,
a fight.
calling out to you, Vanilla Ice.
He's gonna throw a beer glass
I'm
on you from the second floor of
I'm
a
gonna
bar.
Begbie you.
there's our clickbait challenge.
Exactly.
I think another reason why smaller guys are tougher, and I know this because I grew up as a small guy, is because you always get picked on and always have a lot of fights.
No shit.
And when you do challenge bigger guys, they don't really know what to do. And I've had a couple altercations over the years where the big guys don't really know what to do when you challenge them. And when you're a little guy who's been beat up a bunch of times or been slapped, you don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. I've been punched
You know
in the
the
face
worst
before.
it can be.
Yeah, I mean, the worst
Exactly,
that can be is, you get punched in the face and knocked you out, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that when you have that little bit of a chip on your shoulder, it does make you tougher because you're not afraid.
Yeah. No,
You know?
believe me, I was a little guy. Plus, I was me as a child.
Sure.
So yes,
You
no,
had
lot.
what's
I had a
quote,
target.
your
I had a target on my back.
Prison rules from
Yes, it
age
was prison rules.
5,
Every
right?
time I changed schools, it was prison rules. Like every single
Find
time.
the toughest guy.
Find the toughest guy and push him down the stairs
while
Yeah.
screaming "Home Alone, bitch!" Like, just to let him really know.
Yeah, to let him really know.
So
that,
other than being
I've arrived.
other than being a wrestler and one of the greats of all time, and a musician and a podcaster, you're also a Canadian, and this is you're breaking our Canadian cherry, man. And,
great.
And Canada is actually a huge part of
People
our
like us in Canada.
audience.
Actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we
don't-
shout out to our Canadian
yes,
Warren.
we,
Yeah.
We make fun of Australians and South Americans,
they're racist.
but not because they're
Canadians
racist.
we love.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
and people in South America.
But
they
Canada's
kidnap
like
people.
our second, like one of our biggest markets, like is Canada in general, and they've been super supportive. And we have yet
And you're
to speak
Canadian.
to a Canadian,
I am.
and here you are.
Where are you from?
I am
Again,
from, dude, I'm real Canada.
Yeah,
I'm
we know
I'm from the
shit.
prairies, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
That's. I mean, actually, I didn't know that. I was actually just asking
sure.
you.
I'm
You
from,
can tell the
from
audience.
Winnipeg, you idiot. Right?
I'm being cute.
But let me explain to people that don't know what Canada's geography is. That Winnipeg is basically in the middle of the country, and it's the prairies, so it's very flat.
It's like Arkansas.
Basically, Kansas,
But colder.
colder, much colder. Think of
And
Kansas.
nicer.
Think of like Nebraska, but with no cornfields. So, and also you mentioned the cold, and this is something I just said earlier. True story. A couple of years ago, I was home for Christmas, and it was colder in Winnipeg than it was on the surface of Mars. And you can Google that for everyone that doesn't believe me, because with the wind chill, the wind blowing was like minus 78, and Mars was like minus 75 or something.
Do they have like the underground tunnels in Winnipeg? Because I know that Toronto has that.
They
I think,
do,
right?
but not like subways or anything. There's a couple underground tunnels downtown and stuff. But basically, when you grow up in Winnipeg, that's another reason why I'm kind of tough and
I was
durable.
gonna say like, hey, yeah, you look leathery.
It's freezing though.
Winnipeg
And when
in
you're a
you.
kid, you got nothing to do, so you would meet up with your friends, and you would walk about 20 minutes from our house down to the 7-Eleven, hang out in front of the store because they wouldn't let us in because we're vagrants, and then basically walk back for 3 hours, and it's minus 30, and that's what you do. And you don't wear you might wear like small gloves, but not big gloves. You don't wear a toque because it's not cool when you're a teenager.
I love you're sounding more
I
and more
love
Canadian.
the toque.
Yeah, I'm getting there,
You just
man.
learned that
I
recently,
love it.
man.
Oh, yeah,
I'll-
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
teach-
Yeah, yeah.
Loonies, toonies, toque.
I'll teach you
the
guys a
whole
bunch
works.
of words that you want.
Let's
to
do it.
Okay,
I know
give
loonies.
us some-
We know
give us some
loonies.
vernacular.
So this is something that I never realized until I moved to the States and started talking to people, and it would be like you'd say like would you like would you like a rye and Coke? You know what a rye is?
Like whiskey?
It's whiskey, like
Yeah,
a
there you
crown,
go.
crown
Rye,
rye and
yeah,
Coke.
yeah, rye.
How about a parkade?
No clue.
No,
That's
is it
like
an
a
arcade?
underground parking garage.
Oh, wow,
Love it.
Arcade.
Parkade, yeah. How about peelers?
Peelers? No, I don't know.
Those are strippers.
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Let me see some other ones. How about a brown?
A brown?
I'm afraid to hear where this one goes.
It's not what you think.
Okay.
It's a beer.
All right.
Oh, brown.
You
Okay,
have a
that
brown?
makes sense.
2-4.
2-4?
No.
That's 24 beers, a case of beer.
Wow, look at
Give me-
that.
give me a 2-4
These-
brown.
these-
And
these
this
are
is
some good
something
ones.
every
These
Canadian,
are new.
every
Yeah,
Canadian
these are
would know
newbies.
these.
Every
you think?
every Canadian would know those, yeah. Parkade is weird though, because I think in like Eastern Canada, like Toronto, so they don't know it. But in Canada, in Winnipeg, it's I said it like just very recently, and someone was looking at me like I was completely insane. You know, Boxing Day.
Sure.
Yes,
we're,
yes,
we're,
we
yeah,
actually
we're doing a
do
holiday
we
mini-sode.
We do mini-sodes on
Okay.
this thing,
For the
and we do
holidays.
holidays, but
Yeah.
then it's like World's Ocean
So
Day,
there-
and also we have like Boxing Day is one
But
of
did
them.
you know Boxing Day before you started doing your holiday show?
Nope.
There you go.
So the comedian
We have
Nick
experts.
Kroll had a show called The Kroll Show, and there was a segment on there called Wheels Up Ontario, which was like a parody of Degrassi Junior High.
Right.
And I heard words that I couldn't possibly think, like cafetorium? Is that real?
Cafetorium.
Like
Cafetorium,
at the school,
instead of
instead of
a
a
cafeteria.
cafeteria.
I wasn't familiar with that.
Or like sack milk.
What did you call it?
Sack? That's real.
We didn't have a cafeteria, so it was the. It wasn't the lounge, but it was something like that.
Oh,
I'll think of it in a second. But yeah,
Milk
sack.
comes in a sack, and they
Milk-
call it homo
yeah, milk
milk
comes
for
in a bag.
homogenized
Milk
bag
comes
of
in a
homo
bag.
milk. That's a
Yeah,
real sentence.
Homo milk, yeah. Homo milk means homogenized,
I love Canadians.
which is kind of like 2% or 1% or fat or whatever it may be.
Oh my goodness! So
Yeah.
there's milk and homo milk.
Homo milk that comes in a plastic
look
bag.
at that.
And what you do is you would go to the store. It was called Loblaws.
scissors.
You do. You put it. You buy a plastic container. And then you buy the bag of milk,
pour it in
and
your-
you put it in the plastic container, and then you cut the tip of it off, and then you pour it.
I was hoping it was more like Capri Sun.
It came in like a box of milk.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Mini
there's a
straw.
middleman in this.
Do you guys have boxes of wine here?
Yeah,
we
we
do.
do.
Okay,
We
a box
do
of
have
wine.
boxed
Box
wine
wine.
with a
Yeah.
little spout on the bottom or whatever.
So the big
Yeah, everyone's depressed mother in
Sure.
they always have a box of that in their laundry room.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
In the laundry room, yeah.
So the other
Sorry, Mom.
another one, I'm just kind of riffing here. Another one was turtles, which were the big candy turtles.
The chocolate? Are they chocolate?
Like a chocolate
I've heard
flat
of that
kind of
before.
thing,
Yeah.
and it's like got caramel and like I don't know, like pretzels in it or something. But everybody was into the turtles.
The big thing we hear
Turtles,
about
yeah.
Canadian snack wise are Tim Tams. Am I right on that?
Tim
from
Tams? I don't know. I was
Timbits.
Timbits.
From
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. Yes, they're like Dunkin' Donuts Munchkins, right?
Yes, and Tim Horton was a. He wasn't even. I'm not gonna say he wasn't a great player. Yeah,
He was a hockey player.
He
who
was a
started
hockey player
donut
for the
restaurant.
Buffalo Sabres, and he bought a donut restaurant, and then he died in a car crash. His wife had the donut restaurant and started building it up in the Buffalo
And now
area.
it's like the coffee joint.
It's everywhere. There's probably 10,000 Tim Hortons in Canada.
I just had a crazy realization. So is Stan Mikita's in Wayne's World based
on
on
Tim Hortons?
Because Mike Myers is Canadian.
there you go.
Holy
That's a nice.
shit.
That's a nice pull.
Interesting that you just thought of that because that was the first thing everybody knew in
Canada,
Canada,
of course. It
25
took me
years ago when it
30
came
years.
out.
That's a nice pull, dude.
Yeah,
Wow.
very, very good
That's
pull.
crazy,
That's
yeah.
exactly what it was, though. Stan
And
McKee
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the other? So you do have Starbucks or you don't? Tim Hortons is the like
Well,
go-to.
there might be Starbucks now, but I would assume it probably does good. But Tim Hortons is
But
That's-
yeah,
it's
Tim
the-
Hortons,
that's
and
the
also Tim Hortons.
classic.
It seems like it's a little more East Coasty, or is it also like on the West
Dude,
Coast?
you just nailed it. I was going to say the Maritimes.
I was gonna say like everything.
Is that what it's called, the
exactly,
Maritimes?
everything,
That's like
everything east of Toronto.
Montreal,
Yes.
or-
Yeah.
No, Montreal's Quebec.
Okay.
So here's some more geography.
Here we
with
go.
Chris
Here we go.
Jericho.
This, like,
British
I got-
Columbia, BC. We're starting west to east.
Vancouver,
You can't
yeah,
see
yeah.
my hand, but if people
but
listening,
go on.
yeah,
We're starting above California.
Yeah, British Columbia is furthest west. Then you get Alberta. Then you got Manitoba. Then you got Saskatchewan. Then you got Ontario. Then you got Quebec. Then you got the Maritimes, which is Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island.
Go ahead. Come on.
You seeing the risk board in your head?
St. John's, no, Halifax. I'm thinking of this.
Halifax, Nova Scotia, right?
PEI, yeah, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland. Oh, and I'm missing the two other ones. I'm fucking up right
Alaska.
now. That's not one.
Oh dang! I was.
But
so
there was
close.
also two territories which were above, and they were like the Northwest Territories and Yukon.
Yeah.
Which I think now have not. They've been abolished from Canada or something. They're
think there
basically
are.
just two
No,
giant.
no,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
sure.
They're just very melty.
So Alaska is straight up attached to Canada. Like, can you drive to Alaska?
No.
There's mountains.
Yeah,
You have to fly.
you have to fly. You can't. It's not attached. It's more. Like, I think it might be just across the sea from Russia. It's up that far.
It's like a land
No, yeah,
bridge
it's-
kind of deal.
it's-
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
See, I shouldn't have got so involved here with all this stuff.
No.
I was like, I'm
Look at a
trying to
map.
be
Yeah,
the
now you're actually
the
doing the
boss.
research
You were impressive for a minute.
Yeah, we
but-
said earlier we don't do any research for these shows,
Uh-huh.
but let me actually find out. Okay, here's the ones I forgot. Okay. Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island. I forgot New Brunswick, and I
Okay.
forgot Nova Scotia.
Oh,
there
Nova
we go.
Scotia.
We're sorry, Nova Scotia.
Those
Yeah.
are the other two.
Shout out to Nova
Shout out
Scotia.
to Nova Scotia. We love you. We
Yes.
never forget you. Unlike Chris Jericho.
Yes, sorry guys.
That's the bunny ears promise.
So what are some other big Canadian institutions? So we got TV, right? So I lived in Burlington, Vermont for a few years, which is like
Almost
30
Canada.
minutes from Montreal. Yeah, yeah. And we would get Canadian TV.
is.
We would get Canadian TV channels, and there were like something called like the Royal Air Farce and
Yeah.
like the Red Green Show.
Yeah.
Which made no sense to me whatsoever. Those
Right.
two, we love Kids in the Hall. I love Tom Green.
Yeah,
like
some of the CBC stuff is great. yeah.
SCTV was huge for me, but then there's certain ones where it's just so Canadian that it just seems
Well,
untranslatable.
There was a show called The Beachcombers that was huge in the 70s, and the star was a guy called Bruno Gerussi, who was like a huge star in Canada. You probably never heard of him in the States. And
Big.
it was about guys on the Vancouver shoreline, BC shoreline, that were loggers. They would comb the beaches for logs.
The most Canadian
And
thing of all
dude,
time, dude.
You're describing the most Canadian thing
And
ever.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
Go
it was the most Canadian show ever. And you look back on it's just like there was a kind of an angry guy called Relic that wore a toque, and he always was trying to steal people's
just about to
logs.
say the
and
word toque.
He had a bunch of Canadian First Nation. We can't say it's hard because
Native
we grew up
Canadians?
saying
You said
Indians,
Indians like we did, right?
And
Yeah.
you can't say the Indians is First Nation. But if you grew up that way, for me to say Indians is not a derogatory term.
No.
It's just what I
course.
was used to.
It's like a grandpa saying the wrong thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like so. Touche.
thank you.
First Nation. There's First Nation people involved. So there was that. There's a lot of shows. You mentioned Degrassi, which it came to prominence like recently, but in the 80s and early 90s, like there was no show like that because it was on the CBC, which is kind of the Canadian version of the BBC. Which I didn't realize is you could say the word fuck. They just never did. So on the finale of Degrassi, the guy cheats on his girlfriend, and she goes, "You mean you're fucking Tessa Campanelli?" And if Kevin was here, he would tell you, Kevin Smith. He loves that show. And I just couldn't believe it. And that was such a Canadian thing where you didn't know that you could swear on CBC, but when they threw it out there, it was like, oh my gosh. Yes. And then
all of Manitoba rioted.
Yeah,
Yes.
the dam broke.
It did. And then the other side was, back when I grew up, there was only 4 channels. There was 3 English channels and there was a French channel.
But all of Canada got the French channel.
Which was Channel 10. And if
But
you
there were only 4
those
channels.
Quebecers.
How did
Yes.
it skip to 10? Yeah.
But if you caught it at the right time, you would see tits.
like, yeah, 'cause
They would show
French-
naked
oh, that's
chicks.
awesome.
Yes.
It's like, did you watch the French channel last night? Like, no, what? Like, that? Did you see there was a boob on it? Oh my gosh, I gotta watch it.
wee.
Yeah, and you could watch for hours and not catch anything. But if you were lucky,
Caught it that one.
yeah, it was
second.
like just like seeing a glimpse of the Bigfoot or something.
Well, that was
along
like
those lines.
scrambled. I remember there was like scrambled porn when I was a kid. The
Right.
channels you didn't pay for, and if you were lucky, once every like 3 months, somehow miraculously the stars would align and it would get unscrambled for like 30 to 60 seconds,
Yeah.
and you were like, all systems go.
All you had to do was flick back and forth between the channel.
Yeah, that's how you.
Yeah,
you,
you could unscramble it. Yeah.
I always compared it to like that when Luke shoots the laser that blows up the Death Star.
Yeah.
That's when it got unscrambled.
Yeah.
Like he would blow up the Death Star and unscramble porn for like a minute. You know what I mean? But I mean, we had a lot of those type of Canadian shows. I've actually done podcasts on both Canadian television and Canadian music because there's tons of bands.
Much music, right?
Much music,
Yeah,
right.
there you go. That's the MTV out there.
That's the MTV, and we never had MTV. It's not like you could watch both. We had Much Music.
Boo.
Oh no! What happened? Sorry, Chris. Matt gets scared.
So many ghosts.
Oh no!
I'm a ghost.
Just now,
I'm a ghost right now.
Mr. Jericho, I apologize. Mac just found some information out about himself that we need to know. What do you mean you're a ghost?
I died young and beautiful. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is pertinent for right now?
Well, because of Casper Mattress.
We know about Casper Mattresses here on this show. We've heard about them before. And they've got 3 mattress models, the Casper, the Wave, the Essential. They're perfectly designed to soothe and cradle your natural geometry.
Whoa.
And that's math. That's sexy math.
Whenever I think cradle, there's a sexual connotation to cradle for some reason. Look, I don't know what that is.
I have a sexual connotation with geometry, so
well, there
we're
you go.
both different
Look
kinds of
out.
folks.
We have so much in common with Casper.
They got a breathable design that helps you sleep cool and regulates your body temp throughout the night. It's delivered right to your door in a tiny, how do they do that, size box with free shipping and returns in the U.S. and Canada, The best part is you can be sure of your purchase with Casper's 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial.
Wait, 100 night.
100 nights, man.
Whoa.
After all, folks, you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. You should be comfortable when you're doing it.
Yep.
We're basically telling you buy a mattress.
Also, I'm a ghost.
Also, he's a ghost. And if you want a mattress and you're a ghost or a human, do us a favor. You can get $50 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/bunny and using bunny at checkout. I know what you're going to ask. It's BUNNY, buddy.
Oh, there you go.
And that's casper.com/bunny with offer code bunny for $50 off your mattress purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
What? They apply? Hey, Chris Jericho, what do you feel about that?
What Canadian bands can we name, Max? Snow? He
Oh,
was
wow.
Canadian.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
no, he
not
was
the one I would have gone with first.
He was in a band.
What was Tom Green's group called again? With that one rap song they did?
yeah, but that's
I'm joking.
Was it System of a Down?
no. They're
What are like? Is
I just
Rush,
remember they were
Rush
really
is-
big out
Rush
there
is
when I was
Canadian,
living
right?
out there.
Yeah. I think they're from California.
Rush is Canadian.
Rush.
I was joking, but there are big, huge Canadian
Yes.
rock bands, right?
Yes.
No, yes, it's from England. But the biggest Canadian band is
ABBA?
called the Tragically Hip.
I've
Wow, I've heard
Yes.
of them.
Their singer Gord Downey just died of brain cancer last year, and
That's
it was
hilarious.
It was yeah, it was the feel good moment of the summer. But it was like the equivalent of like if Mick Jagger died worldwide. That's what we felt in Canada when Gord Downey died, and they could play. Let's say 3 nights in the Winnipeg Arena, 3 nights in Toronto in Armo Dome, and then cross the border and not even sell out First Avenue in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Do like 800 people or 1,000 people there. It's one of the craziest anomalies ever. They never cracked it in the States or basically any other country. Yet in Canada, every Canadian knows like 20 Tragic Hip songs, and they fucking rock. They're great.
Actually, it's a great name for a band.
It's a great name.
That's so easy.
and just like GNR, everyone just calls them the Hip.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that they never made it bigger is a travesty.
I've always been fascinated by that as like a bullshit xenophobic American, because all Americans forget that like other countries have their own celebrities that we don't have here, because
Right.
ours go everywhere else, right? Like it's a two-way street with American celebrities. Everyone in, like you guys, both of you guys are global celebrities.
I agree.
But every country also has like
Universal.
Yeah.
like their own like the people that are on like best week ever of those countries, right? Like the B and C list, French and Belgian and Canadian, and as Americans we just assume that like other countries don't have that.
Well, and the thing is too, like if you go to Canada, and we're mentioning the Tragic Hip, now if you go to Quebec, that's even another microscopic world.
It's a different kind of Canada. I've spent a good amount of time in Canada.
Montreal,
Okay.
I've spent the most time in at it.
But what I'm saying though is there's musical acts in Montreal that are ridiculous. Like Celine Dion, for example, before she cracked in the States, was huge in the province of Quebec. There was another chick called Mitsu that was massive. There's a guy called Renee Samar that was massive. And
I've
there's
heard of Mitsu, actually, funny enough.
she was like a blonde chick and Mon Cowboy or something.
Yes, I've
but
been shown YouTube videos.
YouTube it.
Yeah,
And
yes,
but
yes.
she would sell, I don't know, like let's say she would go gold in, there's
Just Quebec.
Quebec.
Yeah.
There's like 100,000 people and 99,000
But they
had
have
a
their own,
record.
and they have their own TV channels, basically. Right?
Everything. Well, Quebec went through a phase. They've finally gotten over it, thank God, where they were
'Cause it was
trying.
like they were trying to free Quebec.
They were trying to. It was called what do they call it? The separatist movement,
Yeah,
and there was a
yeah.
French word for that. And basically, separatiste.
You nailed it.
What happened is they wanted to become their own country.
Yeah.
So, but think of the logistics of this. Once again, you've got the 6 provinces or 5 provinces. You got Quebec, then you got all the Maritimes. So you would be Canada,
It's in the middle.
passport,
Yeah.
like
border,
virtually
Quebec.
no water access. Like
no, they would landlock
it wouldn't. Yeah,
themselves.
it,
Yeah.
Would, it wouldn't be
It
sustainable.
didn't
on
make
their
any
own.
sense, but they kept trying. I remember one
'Cause
year.
they're so French. I mean, they are so. Like,
But
Very-
they're a different kind of French than French. Because you live in Paris. You have a place in Paris, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
You know the French.
and so it's it's Quebecois.
Right, and
but the thing is, there's certain restaurants you go there and like they don't speak English.
They won't. They
But no,
refuse.
they do speak English.
Of course.
they just won't.
They just won't. And
They have a certain kind of pride about being French, even though, like,
they're not. They're in Canada.
It's 2 countries divided by a common language, like France and Quebec.
Yeah.
Like no, like French people are like that's not French.
yeah,
Like they're like no,
Yeah.
they go I can kind of understand, but it's very dirty.
They-
Their tongue is lazy.
French consider Quebecois to be like low level French.
Yeah,
like
it's dirty.
Cockney.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
Australians used to be for the English. Or
Sure,
something,
yeah,
for the
Yeah,
Commonwealth,
yeah.
You know?
No, it's dirty.
and you
French.
get dirty French, right?
Yeah, it's the same way like Cajun or
Yes.
like that kind of thing.
Right,
That-
exactly.
That does not that's not French.
Yeah, that's
Like,
not real. That's not the real French.
And actually, I can tell the difference. I mean, I can tell the difference between like southern France and like northern
Okay.
France, like that kind of thing. And I don't even speak French, but I can hear the difference. It's like yes, there is a huge difference about the way that it's vowels. Like, it's very just lazy tongue. Like,
Right.
You live in the States now, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been full time over here?
Are you a citizen?
Oh, yeah, I'm a dual citizen since I was born.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
My dad was born in Winnipeg, but he played in the NHL.
I know we're actually going to go
we
there.
were talking
yeah.
about
Okay,
Yeah.
So I was born in New York. In
you were in-
New York when he played for the Rangers.
Yeah, I was just about to say he was a Rangers.
He was a Ranger, yeah.
Do you remember where you lived when you played for the Rangers?
I don't recall, but it was out in Long Island.
That's so funny.
Because all the
He's a
Rangers
Long Island
at the
Idol over
time-
here.
Okay.
In my neighborhood, a lot of the Islanders, like there was, I had, was it not Pierre? It wasn't Pierre Turgeon. There was a very French named neighbor I had who was like a goon on the Islanders. He used to beat people up all the time, and like they would live there for like a year or two, and then they would go to another team, and then a new hockey player would come into the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
there's certain areas where the guys would live, and they might have a practice arena out there or something.
like
Yeah,
Co-
like
it was
the
like
Jets
Copland.
used to live
Yeah,
around there.
probably.
Yeah.
So I was,
Copland for hockey
I was,
players?
yeah, right. I was born in a place called Manhasset, New York.
Yeah, so I'm from
Yeah.
Syosset, which is like 2 towns over.
And what's 2 towns from there? Jericho.
yeah, which is the town
Which
over from me.
I had nothing to do with
Oh,
where I got
that's
the
so
name
funny,
from.
dude.
I had no idea until I went back there. Over
So
the
as
years
a
to see
kid
it.
who lived in the town next to Jericho, that's why part of me initially was like, "Holy shit, this is our guy."
There you go, right? But and actually, it was funny because in about the mid 2000s, Vince McMahon decided that you couldn't be a baby face and be from Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that was kind of that.
Yeah,
he was coming off that era in the late '90s, kind of thing. Like you know,
and he
the whole
was-
Bret Hart
he-
stuff.
He
and
just
everything.
got this
Yeah.
thing in his head where if you no one can be from Canada.
Yes.
So they had to introduce us either where we lived,
Like foreigners are
yes, like
villains
now
by
res-
default.
Now residing
in
is that
Tampa,
what the now
Florida.
residing thing is?
I remember Benoit now residing in Atlanta, Georgia. He couldn't be from
Ziggler has
Edmonton.
always had the now residing in Hollywood.
Well,
Florida.
but that's
I've never
part
got
of his
that one
gimmick.
either.
But
I get
Vince
that.
refused to allow us to be from Canada.
Well, the Rougeaus, remember they were like soon to be residing
Yeah.
from Nashville.
But the one that I had was I said, well, Vince, I have no allegiance to Tampa whatsoever. I live there, but it's not where I'm from. I said, I was born in New York. Can't we say that? And he's like, where were you born? I said, Manhasset. He goes, no one knows what the hell Manhasset is.
God, I would've
You're from Manhattan. He goes, no, you can't be from Manhattan. That's too gimmicky. He goes, now you're residing in Tampa. That's it. I was like,
and that's not gimmicky.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right.
So I think I saw you once in a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey at some point.
I did, yeah.
Back in the day. Like,
I go to the Lightning games from time to time because Lightning guys
Keep
are
it
pretty cool.
kayfabe.
Yeah, but here's the best part though. Here's the best part. They always give me tickets to go to the games, but when the Jets come, I ain't wearing a Lightning
You get
jersey.
to turn
Yeah,
on the crowd.
I wear the
jet.
I wear the Jets shirt, but they're like, Chris, you can't.
can't
You're
do that.
sitting in Tampa Bay seats that the team is giving you. You can't wear a Jets jersey. I'm like, dude, I have to.
Yeah.
So I met them in the middle and just wore a Jets T-shirt, which wasn't as noticeable.
Something. Yeah, at least.
But yeah, so-
everyone's making concessions.
Yeah, exactly.
But so your
Yeah, go
dad played in the NHL for like how
He did
long?
10
Like,
years.
Jeez, look at
He
that.
had a long career.
What position?
He started in '67 with the Kings out here. He was on the very first LA Kings team. Then he got.
Did you go with Gretzky? Like when when Gretzky got traded?
way
Well,
before
this was in
that.
the '60s.
Yeah.
Gretzky got traded in the '80s. My
goodness.
dad played '67 to
I thought
'77.
the Kings were younger than that for some
No,
reason.
they started in '67.
Oh my gosh!
That was the
I thought
first
that
year.
For
He
some
was
reason,
on the
for some
first
reason, I thought they
year
were
team
like an
wrong.
early '80s.
Yeah,
like,
no,
kind of
the
thing.
'67 they started,
Wow.
but they didn't come to prominence until Gretzky got traded.
That's what I'm
That's
talking.
when everybody.
I guess that's why.
That's
yeah.
when the normal people in LA
Paid
didn't know anything
attention
about
to the
hockey.
hockey
Oh my
team.
gosh, there's hockey here.
geez. Yeah.
Exactly
So,
right.
Yeah, so he was out here in L.A.
LA, then he got traded to New York, and then got traded to St. Louis, and that's where he finished up his career. And then we all moved back to Winnipeg after that. So, but yeah, so he actually played. I think he got the very first overtime goal in LA Kings history, scored by
that's
Ted
awesome.
Irvin, my dad.
Was there ever a moment where you wanted to be a hockey player? Because
There
of
was,
that?
but I sucked. I was the shits. When I was a
Because
kid,
you're not good on your feet.
Well, yeah, I'm not a good athlete though. You'll understand
Says
this,
you.
Mac. I was always really intrigued and attracted to the show business element of wrestling. And I liked hockey, but to me it was a group of guys. And you never really saw their faces. And if you did, you didn't know which guy was which.
Because it's all shot from afar.
It's a team.
looking
But,
at-
got masks
but
on.
wrestling and rock and roll always really got
Yeah.
to me because I loved the individuality of both. You know, you could see, we mentioned Paul Stanley before. You could see Hulk Hogan, and you would know each guy, and each guy had a character, and there was a certain, a vibe to it, and the
vibe, personality.
yeah,
the
personality.
whole- exactly.
The charisma of the guys.
How long has Fozzy been around for? I mean, gosh, it's like a decade and a half.
It is. We started in 2000.
Oh, for our listeners, just in case you don't know, like Mr.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho over here has a band named
rock
Fozzy.
band.
Yeah, and but our last record.
And you guys rock hard. I
We
love
rock
it.
Your last
hard.
record was huge. Judas. Right?
Yeah,
It was
we
massive.
we have 2 top 10 singles from it, and they're about ready to release a third one. So it's really cool because it's like we started in 2000, but it was kind of spotty, and then 2010 is when we decided to really go for it.
Yeah, that's when
And-
you're taking
and
some time off from.
I did, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
when I stopped wrestling full time.
Yeah.
And that's when kind of Fozzy started becoming the priority, and it's still wrestling when the time is right. But and here we are, like I said, with these 2 top 10 singles and all this great stuff that's happening. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock band and a wrestler, and I did
Look
it.
at
all
you,
those
living
things.
Yeah.
the goddamn
Living
dream.
the
And
dream,
meet-
man.
And to meet Macaulay Culkin.
I know,
It's-
yeah,
it's
that's all
the
you wanted.
trifecta.
Hey man, I'll tell you what though, dude. Like I said, anytime you get a chance to meet somebody that you have mutual respect for, it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
it's a cool
yeah.
thing.
Well,
What
that,
are the-
that is returned. How long
Yeah.
have you? So you guys have been doing it for that long. How many days on the road? Because I think you've actually been hitting the road really hard with Fozzy.
Yeah, we have, because when you have a success, you got to really focus in on it and roll
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
So
So I know you're hitting the road hard. How many
Yeah.
dates are you doing in the year?
Well, we started last May, and gosh, we got to be almost 150 now, and I think by the end of this tour we'll be closer to 250.
And a lot international too, right?
lot international, yeah.
That's
We-
awesome.
Yeah,
do
you
really
guys
good in
strike
the
me as
UK.
something that
Yeah.
Germany, Norway, Sweden.
Yeah.
like, those that sound definitely hits those those
the
markets hard.
UK.
UK,
is big
yeah,
for
that's
us.
another good one, yeah.
Ireland, because you can't say they're part of the UK anymore. Australia, we're going back there for the first time in 5 years. It's going to be great. So we've been really good. But there's other places like Japan won't take us.
It just won't
So
translate.
They won't- yeah.
It's not big in Japan.
We're not big in
Have you guys
Japan.
played gigs out there and stuff?
We've never had a gig there.
You know
And
what's
I've
weird?
been to Japan 60 times
Yeah, I
with
was gonna
wrestling,
say, right?
but we
Yeah.
can't get booked with Fozzy because the Japanese are very, rules are rules, I always say in
Yes,
Japan.
yes.
So if you're a wrestler, there's no way you can actually be a singer in a band too, because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And it's like if we would just get the chance to go there once, I know we would do really well.
Because
people
your
waiting to
sound
see
would
us.
work out there.
A combination of the sound, the show is very fun, entertaining, and people know who I am.
Yeah,
they would
absolutely.
go because they're waiting to see Fozzy.
Yeah.
So there's still a
Do
few
you,
times.
do you hear that, Inoki?
It's weird, right?
You're the Intercontinental Champion of the world right now,
Dude,
right?
we just main evented the Tokyo Dome 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Judas was my ring song by design.
Yeah, which was awesome, by the way.
yeah.
Especially
Yep.
the teaser too, when they first did when you did and when
I figured, if we can't get booked, I'll get my song
Free
at least
promotion,
play.
yeah.
Sooner or later, and there is actually some talk now of us going there, which is great. But it's like anything else. You have to open each door one at a time, and sometimes they don't open all at once, but that's okay. We don't mind working hard.
Sometimes you have to crawl through the window.
Sometimes yes, you go through the drain or through the vents or whatever.
yeah.
But I
Get
mean,
in
I
the
think
house.
a lot of times we had to work twice as hard to get people's respect just because I was in the band.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
And
curse and a
it's-
blessing,
I was about
right?
to say
Yeah.
that it's a double-edged sword kind of
Exactly.
thing. Because there's certain people who just want to come just to see.
They'll show up to see it no matter what.
right. I mean,
there's certain times where they actually you're bringing in fans and you're also earning fans. There's also a bunch of looky-loos,
us.
man.
We're
But
like-
believe me, I've been in
yeah.
a stupid band before.
But dude, I was gonna say,
my band's stupid.
even for you though, like, as an
we're
actor, I'm
stupid.
sure there's a transition phase that you have to make, and we'll talk about this more when you do my show. But I mean, sometimes people like Taylor Momsen's a perfect example.
Uh-huh.
She was, a child actor. She was in Cindy Lou Who.
Yeah.
Grinch That
Grinch
Stole
Stole Christmas, sure.
And now her band Pretty Reckless is huge. But she said at first people were always thinking like, oh, am I just going to go on stage in a Who outfit?
She was the girl from Gossip Girl with lots of eye makeup on.
Bingo,
Now,
exactly.
And then boom, exactly. Looky-loos. They're just only there to see the
That's
girl.
right. And people sometimes it's getting easier now, but people sometimes don't want you. I talked to Rob Zombie about this when he started making movies. People don't want you to do other things.
Yeah.
You're known for this.
Yeah.
You got to stay in that box and do it.
Exactly. It's all about boxes.
That's
Yep.
right. And I've always been about, I don't give a fuck about a box. When I told people I wanted to be a wrestler when I was 15 years old, people laughed at me. I legitimately remember people laughing at me. My church laughed at me because the pastor took me on stage and said, Chris is going to Calgary to become a wrestler. I remember people laughing.
Yep.
And
It's ridiculous because right now, I mean, you guys can't see us, but like we're pretty much the same height and the same weight. I mean, like you.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
even-
mean, I'm the biggest one in the room right now. It's shocking how
It's
when you're
shocking.
when you're in
It's
front of
shocking
Chris
how tiny
Jericho,
you are, how slender you are.
But I mean, at the time, I was small.
Yeah, no.
Because if
no,
you think
sure.
about 1990,
when you
for the
first started,
time,
it
you were
was
a
6'8".
cruiserweight.
There wasn't even cruiserweights then.
Yeah.
It was 6'8" guys, the 300-pound muscle heads, and guys like me would just be the job guys. But I knew early on that in the local shows in Calgary that I would never be the biggest guy in the show, but I could have the biggest charisma and the biggest personality.
And you always did, man. You always have.
Well, thank you, but that's why, because I always focused on that.
Yeah.
And then when I started going to Mexico, I realized, wow, I am one of the bigger guys on the show now.
yeah.
And combine that with the personality and the charisma.
it
And
all
then
clicked,
Japan, where
right?
you're kind
Yeah.
of in the middle, but the same thing. And each step of the way, you learn something. And that's one thing I love about my career. Like some guys now, if they sign to NXT, 2 years later, they're on the main roster. And God bless them. That's great. For me, it took me 9 years to get to the WWE.
But
Because you went through the circuit. Like I mean,
did.
you were actually like one of the last of that kind of almost generation kind of thing.
You're right.
That had to jump around.
You've held
Last
the
of the
main
Mohicans.
title in like every
Indeed.
major company on the planet.
Well,
at this
not
point, too,
quite, but I
right?
mean, I can say I've been a star in
Sure.
every country, because I had to go one at a time. Like I did it on the Canadian indie scene, then I went to Mexico and made it there. Then in the height of my popularity, I fucked off to Germany for 6 weeks because I wanted to try that out. Then I went to Japan and stayed there for a few years, and then it was Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and then it was ECW, then it was WCW, which led to finally getting to WWE. And
Now
had
back to Japan.
well, yeah, back to Japan. But each one of those places you learn. And so when you did have some issues, like, for example, WWE, when I first went there, it was hard at first. There was a lot of politics. But I knew.
No.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Some
no.
Yeah. But I still knew, okay, as long as I stick to my guns and just get some confidence, I'll be able to get over because I'd been over everywhere else. And getting over is not, it's not a magic elixir or some kind of a formula. You just know how to do it, or you don't.
I mean, it's the George Plimpton X Factor. It's it with a
Yeah.
capital IT.
I love the
either you
George
have it-
Plimpton reference.
Oh, thank you.
Here's one for you. George Plimpton, when I was a kid living in Winnipeg, he was the spokesman for Intellivision,
I remember this.
which was
I
the
see the game console?
Yes,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
it was the kind of the Pepsi to Atari's Coke.
Sure.
Yes.
It was the alternative,
Uh-huh.
and it was really crazy because Atari had the joystick, and television had a little dial. Like a little
Oh, that's
spinning
right. It
dial.
was like a
Well, you would
number
use it with
thing.
your with your thumb, and it was never really easy to use. So I was always an Atari guy, but George Plimpton was
But
the
there you go.
television
I know
guy.
he was
Early
also in
adopter.
the ads in the magazines. Thing.
Yeah.
He was in the print ads
Old
and everything.
school ads and
Yeah,
the comic
heck
books
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
That'll really get the kids in there.
But what I was saying is that like X Factor, like it with the capital IT, like either you got it or
Yeah,
you don't.
that's true.
Kind of thing. And it
And
seems
it
like every
translates-
step of the way you kept on testing your it.
Yeah, and you
know,
can
yeah.
always see that. I mean, it's like anything else in show business. If you know, even in acting, if you know how to connect with the audience, you'll always have a gig, and that's how you become a star. Is you can go recite the lines. I remember I went studied acting out here with a guy called Kirk Baltz, who was he's Marvin Nash. I just watched it last night. Reservoir Dogs. The cop who gets his ear cut off.
Okay, yeah.
He was a great actor, and he said, "Listen," he said, "you can learn your script and it means nothing, or you can recite a Chinese menu and make people cry. It's not the words, as you know. I mean,
Yeah,
you're a
it's
fucking
all about-
very accomplished actor. It's the feeling and the vibe and taking people on a journey to make them feel something.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in wrestling. That's also what you do with music too.
And yeah, you do it with your words, you do it with your body, you do the
Yeah.
whole, you do it with your
Everything.
look, you do it with just a look.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I mean, yesterday I took my daughters, all my kids, to see Jurassic World.
Sure.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Have you seen it?
We haven't
No.
seen the new one yet.
I
no.
loved it.
Was it
I mean,
great?
All right.
They loved it. I loved it. I like Chris Pratt. Not being a spoiler, but the whole premise of the movie is that the island that they're on is imploding. It's volcanic. It's going to get destroyed. So they basically have to save the dinosaurs
clock,
and
and
Bring
pull
them on the
off.
mainland, right?
But in the fine Disney fashion, some get left behind, and as they're standing on the boat, there's a couple dinosaurs in the smoke, kind of like, "Rrr." And my girls would not stop crying. I'm like, it's not real. It's dinosaurs, but they didn't give a shit. They believed it.
That's the whole point of everything.
And
though,
that's
right?
the
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
And
yeah.
those things don't even exist. There's something that was rendered on a computer.
That's
and you know what
right.
made them feel something.
Yeah, and there's a famous wrestler, a Hall of Famer called Nick Bockwinkel.
Oh, of course.
And I modeled a lot of my 2008 character off of him: suit and tie, big words, slow talking.
I noticed.
You can see, right? It's not. It's all plagiarism.
No, it
when
was
you
just
know.
me. It was just me.
you.
No one
Matt's
else
the only one who
noticed.
noticed.
But he told me years ago. I had the pleasure of meeting him in 1992, and he said, I could tell people for 30 minutes that wrestling isn't real, that it's a show. And then I can go have a match for 30 minutes and have people calling me a fucking liar
Yeah.
at the end of it,
A bastard, yeah.
And that's storytelling,
Yeah.
the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And
It's a ballet. I mean, like you're
It
telling
is.
a story with your body. Like it's so cool.
It really is. And that's, like I said, that's one thing that I really, to me now more than ever, I really enjoy about wrestling is I don't have to ever wrestle again. If I never had another match, I've done everything you can do.
We're gonna wrestle after this, by the way.
Absolutely.
Besides,
yeah.
other than this match after the show.
Winner gets the bunny ears.
Yeah. Watch out! I fight dirty. I go for the knees.
They're actually stuck on your head.
We'll put your
Don't
small
know.
guy theory to the test right after this.
Yeah. Come on.
But I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, but the reason why I still enjoy it is I love the storytelling element of it.
Yeah.
I love the creativity, and that's why I really enjoyed doing the Japan thing, because it was a step away from the norm, a step away from doing, working for Vince McMahon for almost 20 years. There's a certain way you do things. That's just the way it is.
So the first time it was opened up in a while for you.
A lot of freedom. Now, listen. I'm not gonna. Don't get me wrong. Working in the WWE, that style is the best style. You learn. That's how you really draw people in. But to take the WWE style and then combine it with the New Japan style of Kenny Omega or Naito, suddenly we got something.
Yeah.
And it's the storytelling element of Jericho that we did. And I was laughing before I did that match with Kenny that a lot of people were like, there's actually twofold.
The
with
Alpha
Kenny
Omega, yeah,
Alpha
yeah.
Omega was like,
that
how's
was fun.
Jericho going to keep up with Kenny Omega? He's not going to be able to have that match style that he had with Okada. I'm like, you guys are missing the point. I work the style of match that works and combine that with Kenny's style. Of course,
It was
it's gonna-
fantastic.
Well, thank you, man. But of course, it was going to be like, you can't take a Jericho after all these years of experience and a Kenny who's possibly the best wrestler in the world. And I mean, sometimes you don't have chemistry, but it's going to be good because we know how to tell the story. Same thing with Naito. He doesn't speak a word of English. But the match that we had was Okada and Omega, which was the end of this great rivalry, possibly the best ever for people that aren't wrestling fans. And I knew they were going to go 70 minutes and nonstop action.
7-star match.
7-star match. How do I compete with that going on right before him and going on right after Will Ospreay, who's one of the greatest high flyers
he's
in the world
fantastic,
today?
yeah.
What do I do? Well, okay, Will's going to be flying all over the place. Kenny and Okada have the storyline and the drama and the time. I want to go shorter with Naito and just beat the shit out of each other.
Vicious.
Let's just kick the shit out of each other. You know?
And you stylistically told a different story. You thought about the story.
Yes.
Even in
And
terms
the
of your
style of
visuals
match.
and even how you look, down to your gear and your face makeup
And once again, that's reinventing. You know, I've always done that with my career. When a character starts feeling boring or outdated, I'll change it. And when I
But
do,
always keep the scarf.
always keep the scarf.
Gotta have and some kind of light up element, right?
But yeah, like a lot of people were like, they were asking me in New Japan. I have a jacket that lights up. I know you guys know that, but maybe your listeners
Warren,
don't.
if you
It's
don't
a light
know.
up jacket. It's like a Christmas tree lights on a jacket. It's much more expensive and
You're
technical than that.
oversimplifying
Yeah,
the Chris Jericho
it's pretty fucking cool.
But it's the
It's
coolest
become
fucking jacket ever.
become kind of
YouTube it,
iconic. And I wore it in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome with Kenny. But it didn't feel right to me. The character's a little bit crazier, and the short, tight, sparkly guy with the light up jacket, Jericho, just didn't feel right. So
What was the inspiration for the last Naito?
I'll tell you. So I attacked Naito a month before the match, wearing a mask, and the mask is part of his team, Los Ingobernables de Japón, a guy called Bushi, and Bushi wears black lipstick, and so I sat in the crowd with this mask on, and of course no one is even paying any attention to it, but to me, everybody's staring at me. You're hiding in plain sight, but you're scared because
But you have to perform that way.
If one
you have
people-
to assume
Ray and
every
Bushi
single person
fan.
is looking
Yeah,
at you all
but
the
but
time.
nobody knew I was there because it's a surprise. But I'm like, if anybody sees me, I have to.
yeah.
So I put the black lipstick on. I also put some dark eyeliner on to kind of not make my eyes smaller, but I wanted not people to see a wide-eyed, blue-eyed guy, but maybe a little bit not squinty. Because I'm not saying like that, but I just wanted a different appearance.
Yeah.
That would make me feel better. So I put some eyeliner on and I put the black lipstick on, and then when I unmasked, seeing the pictures back of it, I said, that looks really
looks dope.
cool. It looks
Yeah.
crazy and weird, and the people don't really know, somebody
it
was saying
is,
it's like
yeah.
a transvestite. Somebody said it looks like early Ozzy Osbourne. Or
A little Clockwork Orangey
Little
almost.
Clockwork Orangey.
Yeah,
What-
little Alice Cooper. Like,
whatever it was,
Yeah,
people were thinking of, and I said, that's perfect. So for the next one, I said, New Japan wanted me to wear the light up jacket. I said, no. I found another jacket that I had worn for Fozzy a couple years ago, just long, black leather, kind of stretchy
kind
leather
of thing.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just said I'm just going to put some makeup on. I put the black lipstick on. I just put a line over my eye and then one to the side.
Yeah, a little bit of crowy, a little bit of,
Crowy,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it wasn't Vampiro. It wasn't the Crow. It wasn't any of these things. It was
Yeah.
a little bit different.
It was a little bit of everything.
And then I showed Gato, who's the booker of New Japan, a picture that a fan had made of me kind of wearing Joker-esque makeup with a hat, like a Clockwork Orange hat.
Yeah.
He goes, you want the hat? And I'm like, you have one? He goes, yeah, I have. So I said, well, bring it. I'll see it. So he brought the hat and I put it
Put a
on.
little bowler for you.
I just thought that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
I really like that. Now, having said that, walking through the dressing room for the first time, as we discussed earlier, here's the moment of truth. If people laugh, no, obviously they're not going to laugh because of me, but what are people going to think? And no one even batted an eye. It's like, oh, there's Jericho doing something else. And then to come to the ring, and I just love that look.
Yeah, and you've always kind of jumped around in your career, like style-wise, look-wise.
Well, and you're always
stuff
evolving, and that's why it's super exciting to be a fan of
Yeah.
yours and to watch you through podcasting and music and wrestling and
The whole
acting
works.
and for we haven't brought it up yet, but you have one of the best cameos of all time and one of the best films of all time, and of course it's my guy, MacGruber.
You know, it's funny about that. So it's typical Jericho when they sent the script to WWE because they wanted some of the guys in it. And I don't do anything really wrestling related. I try and stay away from that because I'm trying to do my own thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know,
You-
if
with spheres of influence.
Yeah,
and
if I
I've
so
possibly
forth.
done better at it than most WWE superstars.
Well, because
ever.
that's the diversity. So they sent the script, and I was like, I said, I'm not going to do it unless I get some lines. Like, well, they really want. I'm like, unless I get some lines. So they sent a rewrite back with like, a little scene with me and Will Forte. I'm like, that's really cool.
There you go.
But it's also typical Jericho. I'm like, I want more lines.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna improv. Like, can you
on
imagine
the
some-
day.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
fucking
let you play
asshole.
around and
Well, because
stuff.
I asked if I could. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's that type of movie.
Yeah.
I'd studied with the Groundlings out here.
Yeah. And those SNL guys.
Was it
and all that kind of
Jorma
stuff.
direct, right?
Oh, Yarma, yeah,
so
Yarma
they,
directed
he
it.
knows
And
how to play in
Will
comedy
Forte
and stuff
is
like
a
that.
groundling.
Yeah.
Because once a groundling, always a groundling. So that scene, I can't remember the exact verbiage of it, but it was like, you and your dick jokes. I like to say them. I like to hear them. That's why I say them. That's why I listen. Parts of that were improv. I don't remember. I think though that's why I say them. That's why I listen was improv. And there's another piece that's improv, and it did turn out really, really
That's
well.
fantastic.
it was great.
And it's still the only time that I've ever had a part in a movie or a TV, whatever, that actually I bought a ticket and went to the movies to see
Saw
on the big
yourself
screen.
on the big
Physically
screen?
saw yourself
Yeah.
on a big screen.
Which,
bought the-
you know, I'd never done that
I'm
before.
sure it won't be the last time. Me and Mac are writing a fanfic for you right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Where the
As
three of
we
us
speak.
are.
Actually, I already tweeted it. I
All right,
tweeted
great.
it just now.
All right. So we'll hope on that. And it seems like we're going to continue our conversation over on your show, right?
I think we should.
Is the plan.
Let's
So-
just continue it over.
Yeah, so Warren,
Yeah,
go over to Talk is Jericho.
You know what we should do is we'll air this the same
whenever
as
you
soon
wanna
as you're
air
fit.
this.
This is part 1, and then we'll switch over to part 2.
That was a thing.
Yeah, that was a great thing.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it? That was a great first part of
And there's
something.
more of the thing coming. That's right, folks. If you're listening live, it's coming on Friday the 14th of September on Talk is Jericho.
Never forget.
Never forget. And if it's after that, it's coming whenever you want it because that's how podcasts work. I don't have time to explain the medium to you.
Yes, yes. This is sorry, kids.
But thank you, Chris, for stopping by and talking Canada and some wrestling with us.
Yeah.
And we hope you check out part 2. Let's do our pluggy type things real quick. Mac, where
Oh,
can
yeah.
folks find you online?
Okay, yes. I am I'm at Incredible Culk on the Twitters. And on the Instagram, I'm at Culkamania.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm at Camel Toad on all the things. We're at bunnyears.com. Check out our great articles up every day. Buy some merch. We're also at Bunny Ears Pod on Twitter, Bunny Ears Podcast on the Insta, and give us a call, yo. We got a phone number. We take voicemails. It's 845 Easy Hoax. That's 845-393-4629.
You should totally leave us messages because we do listen to them. I personally listen to them.
You do. We don't laugh at you as much as we laugh with you a lot of the time.
Yeah, no.
Or just judge you.
Yeah, no. We suddenly judge you.
Max got a list of people he hates, much like Chris Jericho's got a list.
Yes. Welcome to 2018. I have a list of people I hate.
He's got a
who
lot of
leave
enemies.
messages. Yes.
But that's it. So definitely check out part 2 of this convo
Yeah,
on
on
Talk,
Talk is Jericho.
And other than that, I'm Matt Cohen.
I am also Chris Jericho.
And we have big news, folks. We're retiring our old outro. What are we going to say this week, Mac?
Try not to suck too many dicks.
Oh no.
And if you do, send some pics. No, we're not retiring. I don't know what I'm doing. Just put me on the spot. I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Sorry, buddy. I thought it was gonna. For a second, I was so excited for how they were gonna send us the dick pics.
I know.
I thought that was the switch.
No.
Like fax. It's trying to suck too many dicks, but if you do fax us some pics,
Yeah, fax. Yeah,
that's it.
Fax is some
Get with the
pics.
fax machine this week,
Yeah.
folks. We'll see you on Talk is Jericho.
Thanks, kids.
Bye.
Bye.
Find me, gag me, take me to the bunny ranch. Find me.
Hey, what up, guys? It's your boy Jared, middle of nowhere, Wichita, Kansas. I was super excited to hear you talking about Star Wars in this last episode, and to hear that Mac actually peruses Wikipedia like I used to do all the time when I was procrastinating schoolwork. My personal favorite piece of trivia I found on there was that Tatooine used to be a tropical paradise before the whole planet was glass-bombed by these ancient assholes. And I guess the Tusken Raiders and the Jawas? They used to share a common ancestor. I never would have thought. Anyway, hope you guys have a good week. See you later and suck it.
Hey, everyone listening. Matt and Mac are the greatest podcasters you ever heard. They're fantastic. You need to listen to Bunny Ears. My name is All Might.
Hey, Bunny Ears Pod. Not all of the Warren was totally happy with the name Warren, but we're growing on it. Yesterday I rode my bike to the Karma Cup in Toronto. Giant open air cannabis market and celebration, and this morning I'm relaxing with some of said cannabis and celebrating, listening to the pod. Anyway, suck some dick. Have a great day. Peace.
A Bunny Ears LLC production.
You are freaking lumberjack!